Hey there, Mercedes here from PrettyWebz.com, and in this video I'm going to show you a new Photoshop texture. We're going to go step by step on how to create an Amethyst Crystal Geode from scratch. Now this one took me a little bit of time to figure out. I had a few requests for this, so I'm going to give you the best version that I have, but I think that it's a really good representation of an amethyst. It is great for those of you who make digital art and printables because every one of these shapes will be unique. You will need specific brushes for this. You can download all of the brushes that I'm going to be using in the tutorial in the description of the video below. I'm also going to make some layer styles available to quicken the process. If you're interested in the styles, they will be included in the geode kit that's available on my website at PrettyWebz.com. That's going to be in the freebies section. So it's basically going to be the brushes and the layer styles that we're already creating in this video. So if you follow the video, you're not even going to need the layer styles because I'm showing you all of the settings here anyway. So these are my inspiration images. This is what I came up with, and I'm going to show you how I did that here. Okay, so I am going to be starting with a 1000 pixel by 1000 pixel document. I am going to leave the resolution up to 300 because I feel like this is something people might want to print, or put on a printable rather than for web design and things like that. You can turn this into a background for web design, but I just feel like this is more of a print style. I am going to leave RGB color, and I'm going to leave it on 8-bit because we are going to be using filters. So you can always change this later on once you have all of your filters and everything taken care of. But for now, just so that we can work with those, we're going to leave it there. So I'm going to click on Create. So my background color right here is completely white. This top color I have set to a very deep purple. That's going to be hex code 140319 for that color. That's what we're going to be using. And I'm going to go ahead and add just a blank layer. So I have my brush selected here. I'm going to come here to legacy brushes. I'm working in default brushes, and I'm just using a basic hard round brush for this. Now the default hard round brush has a little bit of spacing to it, so you're not going to get a really smooth texture, which is exactly what we want. We don't want this to look perfect. We need it to look like it was created in nature. Bring up the size of the brush, and I'm basically just going to make a shape. So it's okay that we have all this bumpiness. That is just fine, and it's just going to add to the style. Just a random shape is what I'm going for here. Right click and convert this to a smart object, and then I'm going to click here on the far right hand side to bring up the layer styles. So we're going to use bevel and emboss. For this one, we're doing inner bevel. Our technique is smooth depth 100%. Direction is going to be up, and our size is going to be 21. Soften is going to be 0. Make sure to uncheck global light if you have that checked off. Our angle is going to be 120, and our altitude is going to be 45. We are going to be using a basic line linear contour. Highlight mode is going to be pin light, and we're going to be using color EDD7F8. Our opacity for this is going to be 60%. For the shadow mode, we're using color burn and a basic black. Our opacity here is going to be 50%. Okay, from here we're going to move over to textures. For our pattern, we're going to be working inside of legacy patterns and more. Before Photoshop 2020, you're going to find these patterns here. So you'll see a long menu here with all of these right here. What we're going for is this one, Patterns 2. So you'll just find Patterns 2 here and import it into your patterns here. For 2020, you're going to come over here to Window and make sure that Patterns is selected. When that comes up, you'll just come here and then you'll choose Legacy Patterns and More to upload them from there. So we're coming here to Legacy Patterns and More. We're going to choose Legacy Patterns, and then from there we're coming to Patterns 2. Inside of Patterns 2, we're using this third one right here. It is called Crystals. And we're going to change our scale to 175, our depth to 100%. Make sure to click invert and that's pretty much it for our base. I'm going to click OK. Right click and duplicate this layer. So this is going to be base 2. And I'm going to rename this one base 1. Okay, so we're going to work with base 2, take the fill of this layer down to 0, and then we're going to work on effects by double clicking right here on that the word effects to bring up the layer styles. Okay, so we're going to work on the bevel and emboss. For this one, the settings are inner bevel, smooth, depth 100, direction is up, size is going to be 29, soften is 0. Now here we're going to go negative 159. Make sure that global light is unchecked, and our altitude is going to be 42. Again, for a gloss contour, just a regular linear contour. For highlight mode, we're using pin light, and we're using the color E5 BAE9. Opacity for this is going to be 80%. For shadow mode, we're using color burn and a basic black color, and our opacity is going to be 50%. Now we're going to come over to the texture. For the texture, we're using that same crystal pattern that we used before. It should already be in there because we duplicated the first layer. The only thing we're going to change here is the scale. So we're going to scale this to 200%, and our depth is going to stay at 100. Make sure that invert is selected. And that's pretty much it for our base layer. Grab both of these, Command and G, Control and the letter G on a PC. Name this base. Take the entire base folder and we're going to add a drop shadow to that. So I'm going to double click right here to open the layer styles, and I'm going to choose drop shadow. So our blend mode for this is multiply. Our color is going to be 3E, 3E, 3E. Opacity is 78%, angle 128. Make sure that global light is unchecked. Our distance is going to be 22 pixels, spread is 20, and our size is 90 pixels. We have just regular linear contour, and I'm going to click OK. Okay, now we're going to come in and create some more layers on top of this. We're going to need 5 more layers. We're going to click on that 5 times to create 5 blank layers. Now we're going to go ahead and name these so that we know where we're working. So this is going to be large crystal. This one's going to be a dark crystal. This one is going to be a small crystal. This one is going to be under shards. And this is going to be top shards. So before we start working here, we're going to come in and add all of our layer styles to each one of these, and then we'll go ahead and start drawing after that. So let's go ahead and start here with the large crystal. I'm going to go ahead and double click to bring up my layer styles. And for this one, we're going to be using bevel and emboss. Our settings here are going to be inner bevel. We're using chisel. We're using chisel hard. Our depth is 150%. Direction is going to be up. Our size is going to be 6. Soften 0. Our angle is going to be 120. Make sure global light is unchecked. Altitude is going to be 30. Regular linear gloss contour. Highlight mode is linear light. Our color is just going to be a basic white at 85% opacity. Shadow mode is color burn, regular black. Opacity for this is 50%. Now we're going to come over here to contour, and we're going to change this to a cone inverted contour, and our range for this is going to be 100%. Next, we're going to add a color overlay. We're going to do a blend mode of normal. Opacity is going to be 100%, and the color is going to be 62466D for that, so like a dark-ish purple there. And that's pretty much it for our large crystal. Now at this point, if you want to save this as a new layer style, you can do that. That way when you're creating them, you don't have to go through this all over again. So it'll just save you a lot of time if you want to go ahead and do that. But I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you're not going to see anything yet because we haven't drawn anything. Right now we're just getting all of our styles in there for each one of these. We're going to go ahead and move on to the small crystal. I'm going to go ahead and open up layer styles for that one. For this one, we are using a bevel and emboss. The settings here are going to be inner bevel, chisel hard, depth is 100%. The direction is up, our size is going to be 2 pixels, soften is going to be left at 0. For our angle, we're using 120 degrees, altitude is 30, regular linear contour, highlight mode is linear light, basic white. Our opacity is going to be 100% here, color burn is going to be our shadow mode at a basic black, opacity 50%. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and check off contour. For our contour, we are using the same one that we used before. This is the cone inverted, and we're leaving that at 100%. Go ahead and check off color overlay. Our blend mode is normal, and the color is the same as before, 62466D. Opacity is going to be 100%, and we're done with the small crystal. Okay, next we're going to work on the dark crystal. We're going to double click here to bring up layer styles for that layer. We are using bevel and emboss. Go ahead and check off bevel and emboss. Settings here are going to be inner bevel, chisel hard. Depth is going to be 375 pixels. Our direction is up. Our size is 100 pixels. Soften 0. Our angle is 120 degrees, altitude 30. Our gloss contour is just a basic linear contour, highlight mode hard light. And we're using just a basic white, opacity is going to be 50%. For our shadow mode, we're using color burn with basic black at a 50% opacity. And that's it for our dark crystal. Now we're going to work with the under shards, and you'll see what all of these do here in a second. I just want to go ahead and get all of these layer styles in here. So we're going to open this up and work on layer styles for this one. Okay, for the under shards, we are going to be using bevel and emboss for this as well. Settings for this one are going to be inner bevel, technique, chisel hard, depth is going to be 100%. Direction is up, our size is 6. Soften 0, our altitude is 150 degrees. I'm sorry, our angle is 150 degrees. Altitude is 30. Gloss contour, basic linear. Highlight mode is going to be vivid light for this one. And we're using basic white at a 100% opacity. Shadow mode color burn. Basic black opacity is going to be 50% for that. We are going to be adding a contour, so go ahead and check off the contour. And we're using that same contour, the cone inverted, this one right here. And the range is going to be 100% for that. Now we'll go ahead and check off color overlay. For our color overlay, we're using the blend mode multiply. And we're using the same color that we used before, 62466D for this one. Opacity 100%, and that's it for the under shards. Now we just have one left, and then we can start drawing. So we're going to come here to the top shards. Go ahead and double click to bring up the layer styles for that layer. Again, we're using bevel and emboss, and our settings here are going to be inner bevel, chisel hard. For our technique, depth 100%, direction is up, our size is 4 here. Soften is 0, angle is going to be 146. Our altitude is 53. For our gloss contour, we are using cone inverted. Highlight mode is going to be linear light. We're using basic white at a 100% opacity. For the shadow mode, we're using color burn with a basic black color at a 60% opacity. Okay, let's go ahead and check off contour underneath bevel and emboss. For this one, we are using the same cone inverted contour at a 100% range. Now we're going to go ahead and add an inner shadow to this. For the inner shadow, our settings are going to be color burn for the blend mode. The color is going to be just basic black. Opacity is 100%. Angle is 90 degrees. Make sure that global light is unchecked. Our distance is going to be 6 pixels. Our size is going to be 8 pixels. Contour is just the default linear contour. And that's pretty much it for that. We're going to go ahead and add one more inner shadow. So we're going to press the little plus sign to add another one. Okay, for this second one, our blend mode is color burn. We're using that basic black there at opacity 100%. Angle is going to be -90. Make sure that global light is unchecked. That's very important. Our distance is going to be 6. Our size is 8. Basic linear default right here. And that's it for the second inner shadow. So you should have 2 of these here. The next thing we're going to do is add a color overlay. For the color overlay, we're using blend mode multiply. D2C DD5 is the color that I'm using. So you can see it's right in between purple, gray, white. It's right there in that area. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And our opacity there is going to be 100%. And I'm going to click OK. So we have all of our detail. Of course, there's nothing on the screen yet because we haven't started drawing. But I'm going to group all of these two. So I'm going to go Command and the letter G. I have them all selected. Command G, Control G. And I'm just going to name these detail. Okay, so now we're going to open up our detail group and start drawing. Okay, so before we get started with the drawing, I'm just going to bring the size of this down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it like that. Make a selection of this base shape. So I'm going to go ahead and come here to this shape right here. I'm going to hold down the Command or Control key. When you see that little square come up, you just click and you'll see that it's made a selection of that base shape. That's all we need to do with that base. Now we're going to come up here to the large crystal. I'm going to come over to my brushes, and with these geode brushes, again, these are available for you down in the description. But with these right here, we're going to start with this one, the geode crystal. These are all going to be named right here. So this is for geode dark, and then this is for the shards. And this is just a half shard, just in case you need this, but we're not going to be using it here. So right here, geode crystal is what we're going to be using. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the large crystal layer. Okay, our crystal size is going to be 20 pixels, and I'm using this white color. With this, I'm just going to come in and start drawing out. Try as much as possible not to overlap these, because you will get like stuff like this where you have a lot of crystals overlapping each other and it starts to flatten out a lot. In a little bit, I'll show you another method for layering these if you do need a lot more. Now we're going to come up here to small crystal. The only thing that we're going to do differently here is change the size of the brush to 10 pixels. And we're just going to go over it again. Now we're working in a different layer, so we don't really have to worry about these ones mashing together and flattening out. And then from here we can go to under shard. Again, we're using that same white. So I'm just doing all of the layers that are going to be using white first, and then we'll switch the color over. So for this under shard, we're going to have to switch our brushes. So we're going to come over here and we're going to use the geode shard. And I'm going to bring that up to 50 pixels. Again, make sure that you're in under shard. And it is going to come out a purple color because we have an overlay there. But what I'm going to do is just go around the edges with this. So you can see I've done a couple of layers, a few layers kind of coming from here toward the edges into the middle section. This is going to be the base to our white shards. So we're going to start here, and then we're going to move up here to the top shards. And I might take this up just a little bit more. So we're at 60 pixels right now with this brush. Again, make sure that you're on white. And we're going to go over this right here. It did get some flattening with this layer, and I'm going to show you how to fix that here in a minute. But I want to make sure that I get a really solid color toward the edges right here. Okay, so with this whole area that flattened out over the top, what I'm going to do is add a new layer. I'm not going to duplicate this layer. What I'm going to do is come here to add a new layer, and I'm just going to copy the layer styles from this. So you can right click and copy layer styles, and then come over here to our new layer, right click and paste the layer styles. So it's going to be exactly the same, except this is a blank layer. It's not going to have all of the strokes that this one has on it. So we can start over with this one, and we're just going to go over the top again. And you can do this as many times as you need to get the dimension that you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I could easily add another layer just to give it even more dimension, but I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to show you the last step to this. So these are in this order for a reason. We have our large crystal at the bottom. Our dark crystal needs to be underneath all of this white shard. So that's why I have all of these layers in this specific order. So I'm here in the dark crystal. I'm going to come over here to the brushes, and I'm going to choose this one, Geode Dark Crystal. And right here, I'm going to make sure that that purple color is selected. This is the color that we use to create our base. The 140319 is the color for that. It's just a dark purple color. Make sure that dark crystal is selected. And I'm going to actually bring up the size of this to about 40 pixels. You can bring that up even more if you need to. But I just want to get concentration of these crystals here in the middle. And it's really going to be up to you if you want to move these smaller crystals underneath or just let them sit on top like that. You can do that as well. So this is basically the design. I'm going to press Command and the letter D to deselect that. And you can see when I deselected it that you have this really dark border around the edges. Now I found when I used a mask, I didn't get that effect with the mask. It only works with the selection. So when you're drawing with a, just using a basic selection, for some reason the mask doesn't work in the same way. This is the final outcome. Like I said, you can even add more layers up here at the top to work on this shard section to make it even more intricate, more detailed, give it a lot more depth. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and share it with somebody else that might be interested. And if you don't want to miss any more videos from this channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. And of course, visit PrettyWebz.com for more design resources and tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching.